Hi, I'm Will Cogger, Filthy Amplification. We have an all-valve, hand-wired, 2-amp system that is completely unique and groundbreaking that I'd like to talk you through. Now, we all love single-channel boutique amps. There's something about the simplicity of signal chain that allows for a very expressive, touch-sensitive instrument. However, we also like the versatility a multi-channel switching amp or modelling system can offer us. So I've developed a no compromise system that allows the guitar to see a single channel valve amp but offers a huge range of tones and the usability we're all looking for. There are 2 preamps in here with 3 12AX7 tubes, and this sits on the floor. There are 2 power amps in this chassis, and this can either go in a cabinet like this with its own speakers or speaker to make a combo, or its own cabinet to make a head. Now, there are a lot of products on the market already that sit on the floor as a valve preamp. But you plug your guitar in, it then goes through that preamp on the floor, then in your normal amplifier there is a preamp in front of the power amp already in the chassis. So you're doubling up on preamps. That's not how this system works. I've literally taken the preamp out of here and put it on the floor in this box. So your guitar plugs in the front here, then goes straight through one triode of a 12AX7 tube. It then splits in half. Half goes through this preamp, the other half goes through that one. Each preamp has its own volume pedal that works just like a volume or gain control on the front of a normal amp. So there aren't any master volumes in this system. This gain control just works in conjunction with the foot pedal as a trim. So if you crank it right up, you've got a full range of gain from flat out to completely off. Or if you didn't want to overshoot into too dirty a sound, you can trim that back to where you're happy with it. This preamp has a treble and bass control that are cathode follower, which creates a certain type of asymmetric distortion that some classic amps had. This preamp has a tone control and goes through one extra triode of a 12AX7 than this stage to give a higher gain sound, although both can be categorized as medium gain. The 2 signals then go to this flip switch, which then allows you to flip which preamp goes to which power amp for a greater range of tones. The signal then goes through this connector straight to the power amp. This preamp also gets its power through this connector from the power amp, but both go up the one cable trunking to keep the system tidy. So this is the other end of the cable. The signal goes in here and the power comes from there. The whole system gets its mains power by being plugged in there. This is the mains transformer for the power amp, and this is the valve rectifier. But we have one power amp here called the green and another power amp there called the brown. They both have 12AX7 phase inverter valves, but the green has EL84 power valves that are cathode biased, and the brown has 6V6 power valves that are fixed biased. The green has a large output transformer that allows for a full tight bass response, and the brown has a smaller American style output transformer that allows for more output transformer distortion. They each have their own output jack, I recommend using 2 different speakers with the system to give you a larger range of tones and textures. But then you can also swap which power amp goes to which speaker. Each power amp has its own dynamic control, which really changes the touch sensitivity and compression of each power amp. It also gives a different type of overdrive. The brown has a presence control in one mode, and the green has a master treble control, which is particularly useful for when overdriving the EL84s hard, because they can get a bit fizzy, and this just tunes that back. First, you can play through 2 amps at once. A lot of famous players use 2 amp rigs to get their sound. When you blend 2 different sounds coming through their own speakers in a real space, you get a massive sound. If you send 2 different sounds through one power amp and then that same signal through each speaker, you get a much smaller sound. But when you play through 2 amps at once, there's a couple of common issues. First, ground loop hum, and second, phase relationships between the 2 amps. You can solve this by flipping the polarity on the speakers, but then say you wanted to flip in an overdrive on one of the amps, quite often the phase will flip 180 degrees, leaving you out of phase to the other amp, which obviously ruins the effect of kicking in an overdrive. Obviously my system solves all these, and you can get overdrives and different sounds by using the foot pedals. Also, you've got a huge amount of building blocks to create your own sound. You've got 2 very different preamps, 2 very different power amps with 2 very different modes each. Then you have 2 different speakers, and you can put them in any combination to create your own sound and then blend in between with your foot pedals. The other thing you can do is use this as a full stereo effects rig. Each preamp has its own effects loop on the floor, so you can put in ping pong delays by having one cabinet on one side of the stage, one on the other, or full stereo choruses, whatever you're looking for. You can also run it as a wet dry rig, where you have one amp for no effects and the other amp just for your effects. You can then use the foot pedal to blend in real time your effects as you're playing. So let's have a listen.